Hey guys, welcome back to Tales of the Dark. All right, so tonight we're gonna look actually deeper into the story Sleepy Hollow. Okay, so I know some of you guys have heard of the story. Maybe you guys have sometime or have sometime in your life seen the movie. I know Disney has like their own cartoon adaptation on Disney Plus, and then Johnny Depp starred in, believe it or not, uh, a movie that was done by Tim Burton and a lot of cool stuff, right? Yeah. So, believe it or not, Sleepy Hollow is one of the first um, written scary stories of the Americas. Okay, and things to that nature. But let's dive deeper into it. Okay. All right. So the story takes place in upstate New York. Okay. Most of the legends in this, I believe, has somewhat truth to them. Um, we have numerous of reports of supernatural phenomena that can't be explained, right? And this happens everywhere. Every country, you know, um, states, they all have their stories, right? Well, our story today begins in upstate New York, maybe like in the 18, 17, I want to say 17, 1600s, okay? Um, or 16, 1700s, around that era, I want to say, okay? The legend of Sleepy Hollow is one of those that I really feel like personally has so much mystery surrounding it. Um, This tale was written and published, believe it or not, in 1819, written by a man named Washington Irving, and you guys can definitely look him up. It also was believed to be one of the first horror tales of the Americas that was published. Okay, definitely. So, with that being said, I know that there's other tales that a lot of channels focus on when it comes to the horror genre. And for my channel and for us, I like to look at all these little, even the short stories, the little things that may actually hold some type of truth or archetype to the horror genre, right? Yeah. The story begins, believe it or not, um, by a school teacher, okay, who traveled to the city or the little village of Sleepy Hollow, maybe from upstate New York. All right, so we have Ichabod Crane here. Um, it's kind of a weird name, right? Ichabod? Who names their kid Ichabod, right? um, yeah, tall, skinny guy. Um, he was very sophisticated, and he moves to Sleepy Hollow, right? And somewhat settles into the village and he starts meeting different people. And then he encounters, believe it or not, the beautiful Katrina. She's sitting right across Van Tassel, okay? Um, and with that, he tries to win her affection after he actually runs into her. And many suitors, however, came to court Katrina. And there was one who also is Ichabod's rival. Okay, and his name is Brahm. All right, so Brahm is like an outdoor woodsman. He wasn't as sophisticated as Ichabod, but he was built and tall and more filled out than Ichabod was. Okay, so in the story, they're competing for Katrina's affection here, okay? And jealousy grows, believe it or not. Um, you know, I want to say Brahm's jealousy grows throughout time because, Ichabod is not giving up on Katrina, okay? So he does whatever he can to sabotage Ichabod's connection to Katrina. So he starts like playing pranks on Ichabod, hoping that he would give up his pursuit of Katrina. And also, Brahm was hoping to win Katrina's father's I want to say, favor over Ichabod any way that he could. The last thing he wanted was for them to end up together. Okay. Um, and as the story goes on, there was a party that took place one night at the Van Tassels, Katrina's father's farm or mansion that was in the countryside here. Okay. And and naturally, dancing was a form of introduction. At that time, there wasn't TV, cell phones, anything to that nature. You were very social when it comes to certain events. It was like the highlight of the evening, social interaction. So the more closer Ichabod gets to Katrina, the more Brahm, you can kind of see him in the background. His jealousy grows, okay? And at this party, or sometime during the story, the townspeople or Brahm talk about the infamous headless horseman, okay, for entertainment purposes at this party or at the event Ichabod was at. So naturally, this unsettled Ichabod. He wasn't really familiar with ghosts and the paranormal. Where he's from, which was more the mundane life. It wasn't, I want to say, the norm to engage or entertain ghost stories, especially about a headless horseman. And the story goes that the headless horseman was actually a soldier who lost his head during the Revolutionary War to a cannonball. And in the story, he is called the Hessian. Um, and so, the townspeople told Ichabod that they see this ghostly apparition on a horse riding at nighttime throughout Sleepy Hollow on occasion and carrying a jack o' lantern, right, in place of his head along with his sword, right? And this is frightening, right? Can you imagine moving to a town and they're all talking about this supernatural thing that takes place as if it's something to fear and it's real. These people believe that something took place, that they were seeing this apparition or that some of them have encountered it, um, and things to that nature. And so that night he leaves the party and he's walking through the town by himself. Okay, it's pitch black, and believe it or not, he encounters and sees the headless horseman. Okay, so this apparition starts chasing Ichabod all throughout Sleepy Hollow. Okay, and this is unfamiliar to Ichabod. So the supernatural encounter would frighten anybody, right? Maybe some of you guys have had supernatural encounters yourselves. Were you the same person after? And in that moment, what was your response? Did were you in fear? Did you leave the room, the environment, or like did you ever go back to the place that you had a supernatural encounter at? It definitely changes you forever, right? So naturally, Ichabod had the same response any of us would have, right? So he starts running away as fast as he could from this apparition, this ghostly headless horseman. And believe it or not, the headless horseman starts chasing him, okay? And then up until they get to this bridge right here, okay? So I guess the story goes, or the legend goes, that Ichabod is facing the horseman at the end of the bridge. And the horseman slows down on horseback and he throws, believe it or not, that jack-o'-lantern at Ichabod's head, right? And then the next chapter or the next morning, the townspeople just find Ichabod's hat and they find a broken jack-o'-lantern, but they don't find Ichabod. He just kind of disappears strangely. And then, believe it or not, conveniently, um, because Ichabod disappeared, conveniently Brahm ends up marrying Katrina and inheriting her father's estate and starting a family with Katrina. Um, so, what do you guys think? Do you think this is just some hocus pocus? Or do you guys think that something really did take place here in upstate New York in the town or village of Sleepy Hollow, right? The townspeople every year celebrate the legend of Sleepy Hollow. There's food and drinks. I don't know if you guys ever wanted to head up there. They have events and storytelling and a lot of cool stuff that goes on in that area to celebrate their legend of Sleepy Hollow, right? To this day, you can find some of the history that took place in the area, along with the legend, which has never died. Until this day, it is still being told to the next generation, the next generation, the next generation. Um, there has been tales of a headless horseman in different cultures around the world. There's also, um, I want to say, different versions of this story in different locations. Um, so, what do you guys think? Do you think that we will never know the answers to what took place? Or do you guys just think this is just a story? Believe it or not, some people thought that Brahm was the headless horseman or dressed up like the headless horseman to get rid of Ichabod because he was already picking on him throughout the story and wanted him to leave. So some people believe that the headless horseman was Brahm and scared Ichabod to leaving Sleepy Hollow for good. Other tales suggest that he settled down somewhere and started a family somewhere else, and left Sleepy Hollow. There's a lot of unanswered questions, I want to say, to this story. There's a lot of symbolism here. There's, a lover's triangle, all the famous archetypes. There's the supernatural aspect to the story, along with the town and a very mysterious village, right? And then also the infamous headless horseman, right? There's so many things to this story that it became a classic. I want to say a gothic classic that will forever be told. You know, it's got everything a good story needs to be passed down through generation to generations. And who knows, maybe we'll find out if there really is a headless horseman. Maybe not. But either way, I'd say that this is a classic tale and also has a beautiful romantic gothic, I want to say, outlook. And it is one of the best stories, I think, when it comes to some of these archetypes. Besides all the gruesomeness that they have out nowadays, like some of these slasher flicks or you know, all the stuff that goes on. I feel like this is just one of those gothic classic storyteller like stories. You know, you can tell the family, and things to that nature. Not something so intense, but still leaves mystery and room also to be passed down to the next generation, right? All right, you guys, thank you for joining me. And let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Do you think this is something supernatural that needs to be explored more? Or do you think this is just a ghost story? All right, thank you. I'll see you guys later. Bye.